Welcome to Podband Pipecast.
The premier pipe band podcast.
Woo!
Woo!
Welcome back to our second RSPBA rules episode because one was just not enough.
There's just so many great rules.
Rules are fun. I don't know. I think they're fun.
I read 19 pages. You can suffer through 2 episodes.
I mean, if you didn't want to, you wouldn't be here.
Right?
So.
Yeah, leave. You don't have to listen to the rules.
No, let's wait. Let's wait for the non-dedicated people to leave. We'll give you a moment.
Doesn't take that long to close it. Come on.
No, they're still working on it.
Old people.
Okay.
Okay.
You think they're gone? I think they're gone.
Our fans are here.
Yeah, only the true fans. So this is part 2. So if you missed part 1, go back and listen to it. It's full of fun stuff, like more rules.
Rules are fun.
Rules are fun. And just so you remember, these are the fun and interesting rules from the RSPBA that we may not be familiar with, being that we are from Arizona, where we're in the Western United States Pipe Band Association. So things are different. It's very different and very interesting to see these differences. Which, speaking of, let's get back to it.
Yeah. If you want to compete overseas in Scotland, you have to submit your your subscription forms 2 months prior to the contest. So
I do
plan ahead.
Remember that. Plan ahead. Once again, so nothing has happened since 19, right? So don't get caught off guard just because it's still the pandemic and you're like, oh, I can wait because I don't know if I'm really going or not. Do it.
You gotta do it, and you gotta have the roster of your band members when you submit.
Yes. And I know, trust me, I'm our band secretary. I know it can be hard to be like, is so-and-so going? I don't know. They may not be able to get time off work. We don't know. And I'm just like, just make a decision. Either put them on the roster or don't, and get your roster sent in. Figure it out. It's not worth it to, be playing fast and loose with these rules because you don't know. It's not your association. It's the RSPBA, and they're generously allowing you to attend their contest anyway. So just don't chance it. Don't do it.
Do it.
No,
do
don't
2 months
do
ahead.
it. Oh, yes, do that.
Yes.
So the other one that I wanted to bring up was, okay, so imagine that we, for example, wanted to start our own pipe band association. Imagine that.
That was such a long section.
Was it long? Oh, yes. Branches.
Yes.
So the branches and branch rules section of this document is all about like the branches of the RSPBA. So RSPBA Northern Ireland or whatever your branch is. And it's all about branches and the rules of the branches. So this one is at the very beginning of the rules section of that. So 5.5, the following must be strictly adhered to. Number 1, no branch shall be recognized if they or any of their bands are members of or associated with any other pipe band association within the United Kingdom. So I don't think there are any other pipe band associations, but
if there were,
the RSPBA wants you to know that that's not good. You're either with them or you're with us.
You're with them or you're against us.
Yeah, you're with us or you're against us, and they're going to war with you. So if your band, okay, so this is how I'm imagining it happening. And this is not based on any sort of fact, but it's just me imagining a situation in which this would be relevant. Let's say that for some reason someone wanted to host a competition that for some reason the RSPBA wouldn't like sanctify, and so they're like, I'll start my own pipe band association. So they start their own pipe band association, and then they get people to sign up for it so that they can compete in their contest, which they're trying to make a big deal by having their own association, everything, whatever. Those bands, they're breaking the rules with RSPBA. You can't sign up with more than one association. You can't do it. Someone tries to do that, don't. You can't. You can't be in the RSPBA and something else. You can't do it. You can be in the RSPBA and in WSPBA because we're not in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't be in the RSPBA and the super cool pipe band association of the United Kingdom. Can't do it. You could try.
But you can't.
You can't. You're breaking the rules.
It's not allowed. You're going to get arrested.
Yeah. RSPBA police will
You're
come
going to
get you.
jail.
They'll find you. Anyway.
I also liked how it talks about exactly when you're going to be judged and when you're not going to be judged. Like 4.54 to 4.56, the musical performance shall be adjudicated from the first stroke of the first 3-pace roll on the quick march. The introductory tempo shall be not less than 60 paces per minute, and the adjudication of the musical performance shall cease after all instruments have stopped sounding.
Yes. Because I'm sure, so this is one of those where it doesn't have the adopted year on it. So this has probably just been there forever. But yeah, so just tell me, who marched up to like their opening tune of their medley or their MSR or whatever was less than 60 beats per minute? Explain to me that. Who were you? Why did you do that?
So slow.
I guess you could maybe march double time. Like each step is an eighth note. I guess. I mean, you can't because the rules say you can't.
No.
But I'm trying to think, like, musically, why would you do that? I don't know. But yeah, then you get from the first stroke of the first 3-pace roll to the point on which all instruments have stopped sounding. That's it.
And I was thinking, in my mind, what if someone just falls over and everyone stops playing? But then they pick it back up. You can't do that. We've stopped judging. Get off my field.
I mean, I don't know what you would do at that point.
I don't know who's falling over while you're standing there, but like, I don't know.
Would they give you another shot at it? Because I feel like, okay, so this kind of almost happened to us one year with our old bass drummer, Mr. Jim Grant. Shout out to Jim. Hi, if you're listening. So he had some breathing issues in the middle of a contest, and he took his drum off. So he took the bass drum off and set it down and started playing like with it on the ground. And there was like a brief lapse in his playing for him to take the drum off and set it down, and all of us were like watching because when you're in the circle you're all turned in, right? And so you can see the bass drummer, and everyone was watching and like freaking out because they're like, is he gonna pass out right now? And the exact thing was going through our minds, like, what happens if he passes out? Because we're all gonna stop playing this. Okay, let's assume your bass drummer passes out middle of the circle. Have your minimum number of pipes. You have to have a plan for this, because now what if it happens?
Right? So you've got your minimum pipes. The rest of one of the extra snare drummers comes up. They take the bass.
They start playing.
Play bass.
Or, fun fact, when we get to this rule, which is going to be in like 2 seconds, but RSPBA minimum requirements do not require any tenor drummers.
But if you want to win best
bass section,
you have to have at least one tenor and one bass.
Okay, so if you have 2 tenor drummers, I feel like that's the bare minimum for bands nowadays.
Yeah.
Usually 3, but you gotta have at least 2. So one of your tenor drummers can stop and continue playing bass while your extra snare drummer drags your other bass drummer out of the middle of the circle. However,
what, can we leave the circle? Was that a rule that can players leave the circle?
Is that a rule? I know it's a rule that once you're at the line, no band member may withdraw.
Oh, so does that mean if you pass out,
you have to stay there?
Disqualified.
I mean, you're.
Well, I guess as long as you're in the circle,
you're probably still okay. So one of your snare drummers can go check on your bass drummer and, like, I guess, like, I don't know, start CPR or something.
You just have to set them up and pretend to play with them.
Yes. Well, yeah, because yeah, they can't leave. So, you know what? It's like having a fire escape plan for your building. You got to do it. You got to have a plan. What happens if one of you goes down?
Mm-hmm. Don't stop playing.
No, your whole band must know this. You can't stop. You have to continue.
You should practice that too by someone randomly passing out during practice.
Do you remember stop, drop, and roll? How when you were a kid you had to practice stop, drop, and roll?
Stop, drop, and play.
Yeah. Practice this. Stop, drop, and play. Mm-hmm. Continue playing.
While someone stop, drop.
Yes. And it has to be random people. Every time you do this drill, it's like Duck, Duck, Goose. You know, have one person who's not a performing member, just have, you know, a groupie, go around and tap people on the shoulder and just be like, in the middle of your set, they're just tapping people on the shoulder. And then when they double tap on someone, that's when that person has to fall down and stop playing.
But everyone else
continue playing. Yes. Everyone else continues playing, but that person pretends that they just died.
Yes.
So this is, you've been warned.
Mm-hmm.
This might happen to you.
This is necessary.
According to the rules, I mean, let's see. And that is if you want to still win best bass section, you have to have at least one tenor drummer.
Yes.
So we can't just have Alex go out there and just, yeah, we're taking the day off. So now I will call your attention to, we're done with the standing orders and rules. Done with that. All good.
Get him out of here.
Don't need to look at it ever again. I've already read it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have. I don't know if you have. You should, if you haven't.
It's your fault if you haven't.
Yeah, for real. Now we're going to go to, well, first of all, let's kind of take a cursory glance over some of these other things. Association policies and procedures, using social media responsibly. In case there are some people among you who do not understand how to use social media in a responsible manner, the RSPBA's got you. There's a document that is about how to not make a fool of yourself on social media. So it goes through, what is social media? What different types of social networks are there? And how to use social media responsibly, including be informed about how they work. Protect your privacy and think carefully before you post, and protect your professionalism and your reputation. And once again, I'm thinking when would be a time when someone would break these rules? And I realize every day if you don't post responsibly. But no, for real, I'm thinking about like when is it like a problem when you're using social media irresponsibly in terms of the RSPBA? And I'm thinking like most people don't actually realize when you're a member of a band, so you're actually registered in that band and the band is registered in RSPBA, you're kind of acting on behalf of RSPBA in some respects, like you're affiliated with them.
Yeah.
So let's say that you like, once again, trying to find a situation where this would be especially relevant. Let's say you go on YouTube and you find a video of some piper who posted them playing Scotland the Brave and it was like really terrible. And you comment like, oh, this sucks, you suck, you're awful. And then like technically that's not the opinion of the RSPBA, I'm sure, unless like the director decided to do that. But technically, like, you are a member of the RSPBA and you're kind of representing your organization pretty poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be even a bigger problem if one of the things in this document they bring up is that, you know, a flippant comment made 10 years ago can come back to haunt you a decade later. And we all know this because of, you know, the canceling thing that's happening on Twitter and everything, where someone tweeted something 10 years ago and now it's like, you know, it's come back and it's like, you're an awful person and all that. So let's say you commented this on a video 10 years ago and now you're actually a judge and you judge the band where this person happens to be playing in this band, and that's probably a conflict of interest. That's probably not a good thing. So I thought it was interesting because then it talks about, you know, like gaining permission when publishing a person's identifiable image. Like you can't just like take pictures of people and post them.
It also says to use disclaimers. So if you're going to talk shit about someone, say I am not affiliated. This is not the opinion of the RSPBA, and then talk your shit.
This whole podcast is not the opinion of the RSPBA. Or of WSPBA. I guess it's interesting because WSPBA doesn't have this type of rule. So, and I guess it's not even a rule. It's not really framed like that. It's framed...
this was not in the rules doc.
No, it's framed as guidance on using social media responsibly. So, you know, discrimination, sexual harassment, and bullying, like just be a good person, which is what this is saying. Like guidance on not making a fool out of yourself.
Speaking of sexual or bullying and harassment, there's a whole document on bullying and harassment.
Yes. And you know, like I said, there's so much on this website. There is so much because I'm sure some of this is like legal also. So RSPBA advice on the protection of vulnerable groups, which I actually looked up because I have never heard of this before, and they were using it in a way that made me think it was like a legal term. And in the UK, it is a legal thing apparently that your organization has to have a policy on safeguarding vulnerable groups, which include like children and other vulnerable adults who need the protection of your organization. So that was interesting. And now I want to call your attention to just read all of it. But this next one we'll go to is under the music board section. It's reference information on competition format. And reference information on competition format. And this is a document by the RSPBA Music Board, updated in October of 2020, about competitions. And this one I thought was interesting because it is like typically this sort of information would be part of the quote contest rules in WSPBA, where it talks about minimum numbers and the grade levels that they have for, you know, that you can compete in and the tune requirements and all that. And that's all in this big, huge, long document. And it's wonderful, I think, because there's some things that are very similar to what we're used to and some things that are very different. Mm-hmm. And they have history of amendments to this. So you can see when they changed it, which is kind of different from the other document where they have like each line, they'll say when they changed it. But in any case, the instruments of a pipe band, I thought this was very interesting because it says instruments that comprise a pipe band, the Great Highland Bagpipe. An exception may be made where there is no cultural history of using the Great Highland Bagpipe.
That is interesting. And so then, could I come in without bagpipes?
I see, this is another time when I'm reading this and I'm like, this looks like a legal document, but if I'm reading this out of context, I'm like, you have to clarify what you mean. Because, okay, we live in Arizona. There is no cultural history here of using the Great Highland Bagpipe. Mm-hmm. I mean, define cultural history, because if you're talking about the cultural history of Arizona, the geographic place, none of us should be here. We should not be playing bagpipes and drums in Arizona. But we do. But like the traditional cultural instruments of Arizona are not the bagpipes and drums. So if I'm reading this out of context, like you might a legal document read every line and interpret it, I guess we don't need bagpipes.
What is a historical? See, do I have to replace it with a historical Arizona instrument, or does it just?
It doesn't say.
It has to not be the Great Highland Bagpipes if those are not significant to our cultural history.
Because it doesn't say.
It doesn't say the alternative.
Yeah, it doesn't say bagpipes. Probably the Great Highland Bagpipes, but we can make exceptions for other bagpipes. It just says the Great Highland Bagpipes, but exceptions can be made. And so I mean, I'm expecting that if you don't have pipes in your pipe band, you would not be a pipe band and you would not compete in a pipe band contest.
But we need to challenge this rule.
Legally. I don't know. And maybe it's not supposed to be read as a legal document, obviously. I mean, if they spelled out everything, it would be kind of ridiculous. But it makes you wonder.
Mm-hmm. I also like that for bass and tenor drums of a single pitch, that means we could not do marching band tenor drums.
Right.
In the RSPBA.
And see, I read this in a pipe band, snare drum, bass, and tenor drums of a single pitch. And so that made me think, like, you can't do marching band drums. You can't.
That's what I'm assuming.
Technically, are you allowed to have different pitched tenor drums?
See, I don't know.
I guess technically each tenor drum is its own single pitch, but at the same time, it's written in such a way that makes me think, like, one pitch. Tenors, one pitch.
All the same.
Just one. And so then I referenced back the way that WSPBA wrote it, and they require you to have Great Highland bagpipes. And then, considering the RSPBA has the worlds, maybe they don't want to exclude other countries from competing that have different types of bagpipes. Although...
Can we come in with our trash bagpipes?
Yes! Trash pipes. Another episode we did. We made bagpipes out of trash bags. Yeah.
Yes.
Trash bags.
And reporters and straws.
Yeah. And they were terrible, but they worked.
Yes.
Surprisingly enough. Yeah, I guess I don't... They're leaving out other instruments, saying, like, don't have crash cymbals. I get that. Mm-hmm. Don't bring a wood block or a cowbell. So I get that, but it's, leaves a little bit to interpretation. There's no maximum number of performers that can be in a pipe band. I know that's been a weird rule that people have been debating for a while. Should there be a maximum? Should there not? Not going to discuss that, but we will discuss how the RSPBA does not have a grade 5. And some of you who are from other organizations will say, well, of course, what the heck is a grade 5? Why would you bring that up? And it's because WSPBA has a grade 5. And we actually had our Mesa Caledonian Pipe Band grade 5 compete in 2020.
And they won.
At the beginning. And they won their first grade 5 contest. And then
that was it.
The apocalypse happened. So, RSPBA does not have a grade 5. But they have grades A and B for 3, so 3A and 3B and 4A and 4B. Mm-hmm. And they have a juvenile grade, which is just above 4A but below 3B, apparently, according to this chart here. And they have a novice juvenile A and novice juvenile B. And that's all of the grade levels for a major championships. And this is another interesting difference between our home association and the RSPBA, is that they have major championships versus minor competitions.
Yeah.
So some competitions are just more important than others. And that's cool. I think if we had more competitions out here, we might consider that. Maybe. But otherwise, it makes the rules a lot more complicated because it depends where you're at, what the rule is. So the minimum numbers are different. So if you're in a grade 3 band and you're competing in either grade 3A or 3B at a major championships, you need a minimum of 8 pipers and 3 snare drummers and 1 bass drummer. No tenors. I guess why?
Yeah.
But if you're at a minor competition, you only need 6 pipers and 2 snare drummers and 1 bass drummer. So you can kick out 1 more piper and 1 more snare drummer. You can cut them.
2 more pipers.
2 more pipers and 1 more snare drummer. You can cut them. They don't need to be there.
Get out of here.
You're done.
You can't cut the bass, though.
No, you need a bass drummer. You can cut all your tenor drummers. But keep in mind, if you do that, you
cannot win best bass section.
Right. We learned that. That and the number of judges you need is different if it's at a major championship versus a minor competition. You only need a piping judge and a drumming judge if you're at a minor competition. You need 1 ensemble, 2 piping, and 1 drumming judge if you're at a major championship. So keep that in mind if you're organizing a contest, I guess. But yeah, that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect at various RSPBA competitions. There's also prescribed tunes. So certain groups certain groups, including grade 4A, grade 4B, novice juvenile A, and novice juvenile B, should play tunes from the prescribed tunes list. And this was interesting because you can go on the RSPBA website once again, and there's a ton of stuff on there. But one of the things is the prescribed tunes list. And these are all the tunes that are approved for those grade level bands to play in their contests. Remember how we've been saying several times before that most, pipe bands only play they only pick from 4 or 5 tunes.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And some of it has to do with technical skill that you showcase for the judges. And it's probably a lot easier for the adjudicators if everyone's playing the same tune. They just, who played it better? It's like if you wear the same shirt as someone else, who wore it better?
Then you have to change.
Someone has to change. Or you both have to change.
Into different things.
Yes. But yeah, the prescribed tunes list. And I thought this was very interesting that they have a tunes library online where you can download PDFs of all of these tunes. The ones I looked at were pixelated and kind of, hard to read, but they're there. So RSPBA must have, the rights to these tunes to publish them on their website, I guess. And you can just go on there and you can get these tunes for free. This sheet music for free. For free, as far as I know. I mean, the RSPBA probably pays for it, is what I'm saying. But it's on the internet. So that was kind of cool to me because if you're ever looking for music of these generic tunes that everyone plays, just go on there. It's on the RSPBA website. And then there's so many rules about which tunes you can play based on your grade level. And the worlds have their own little section saying what's going to happen if there's X number of bands. There's the entries are divided into 2 heats, and then you're playing the MSR and a medley on Friday, and then 12 qualifying bands playing an alternate MSR and medley on Saturday, and if there's less than 18 bands, something else happens, and it is very complicated, and it'll be interesting to see how many bands show up for the Grade 1 Worlds this year in 21, or in 22. I lost a year here, wow.
I mean, we all did.
Everyone did, let's be honest. But yeah, what happens? And I'll reference back to these rules and be like, 19 bands, which means they have to have a qualifier. And the draw, and there's all kinds of rules about that. And if there are multiple heats, there's rules for how to break ties. So, fun trivia. Who knows how they break a tie in a contest?
Let me find that section real quick.
Let's say that there's multiple heats and equal placings are given to... How do I explain this? Because I had to read this 5 times to understand what it's saying.
If all the bands have the same number of points, so they tied for whatever place, then we first look at the ensemble score.
Correct.
And whoever has the highest combined ensemble score, they win.
Right. So what if it's a Grade 1 World Championship and there's more than 18 bands and it's still tied?
Wait, is that less than 18?
Oh, I'm sorry. What if it's a Grade 1 World Championship and there's less than 18 bands And it's still tied. What do you do?
Well, then you apply the 5 previous criteria to the total from all 4 performances. If there is still a tie, this would be resolved by applying the above preference criteria again based on the 2 performances on the Saturday only.
Okay.
And then if that's tied, then just friggin' you're all winners.
Yeah, everyone
Congrats.
So I can't imagine a situation where this would happen. I mean, maybe, but like,
I mean, they wrote it down just in case.
just in case, because it's probably because they didn't want to end up with like, but who's the world champion? And then everyone's debating like, oh, this band got robbed because they were gonna be the champion, but then this rule, and so they just wanted to spell it out.
Easy peasy.
So yeah, the other thing is for grade 2 and 3 at the Worlds, the accumulated position of the top 12 bands in the major championships prior to the Worlds will be used to split the bands between the qualifying heats. Those bands who have not entered the competition will be removed from the list. Even numbers will be allocated to one heat and odd numbers to the other heat. I.e., if only 10 of the top 12 enter, there will be 5 in each heat. So they don't want to, like, if they have 2 heats and they're only allowing like 12 bands in each heat, and you have 10 of the previous bands that have like placed in the top 12 in the major championships, that's a tough heat. If you're one of those other 2 bands, that sucks. So they try to even it out so that it doesn't end up like that. And then for grade 1 at the Worlds, this is how they seed the heats in case you're curious.
For more than 18 bands.
For more than 18 bands, if you're in a grade 1 world championship for more than 18 bands, the top 12 bands will be identified by the result of the world championships in the previous year. Even numbers will be allocated to one heat and odd numbers to the other heat. And then same thing, if some of those bands don't enter, they kind of just even it out that way. So if you don't want to end up in a heat with where you're the 6th band and the other 5 bands in there are top 5 world championship bands from last year. You do not want that to happen. But the RSPBA's got your back. They got you.
They got you.
That's why they have the rules. There's so many rules. There just are. It's just
That's how it be.
And I guess some of these aren't rules, they're guidelines. But go on there and read some more, because that's all we're going to read for you, but oh man, it's a lot.
That's a lot. Whew.
I seriously recommend that everyone goes on and reads the director duties in the ring document, because it is just, it's wonderful. It talks about how to set up the arena for a contest, and a lot of these things would be applicable to other associations too. I know they are for WSPBA at least. It's like, this is nice. This is your guide. Let's say you're running a contest and you don't really know what to do, or you think you know what to do, but you actually forgot something. This document will tell you that. It's like a big long checklist, everything you need. What paperwork do you need to organize and turn in at the end of the contest? They got you.
There's no need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
This wheel is good.
This wheel is wonderful. Go on and read it. And even if you have no interest in organizing a games, but you compete in a Highland Games, if you compete in a pipe band contest at any point, go on there and read these, because you need to appreciate everything that these people do for you. Like, it is not easy putting on a contest. You think people just show up and compete and they're just judges. And there's a lot more that goes into it. So,
See, we're going to use this when we do our contest.
Yes.
With our $10,000 prize money. And
yeah, which you
stuff.
would have known about had you listened to our Hot Takes episode.
Yeah, previous lore.
Yeah, you didn't listen to it. Well, too bad. You missed out.
Hot take, you should have listened to it.
It's not like you can go back and listen to it now.
Impossible.
There's
Deleted.
no way.
Archived.
Yeah,
Gone.
done. Too bad.
So sad.
So sad. Well, I'm glad you didn't miss this one, because same thing. It's not like you can go back and listen to these later. I mean, no.
Certainly can't go to patreon.com to watch the video. Patreon.com/BodmanPodcast.
I mean, there's no way.
No way.
You want the videos of these podcast episodes? There's no way. It's not like you
way.
could sign up and pay the low price of $5
Plus tax.
per month, and see all those videos, plus our other Patreon exclusive content. There's just no way.
No way.
Sorry.
Oh well.
Oh well. I guess you'll just catch us next week then. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, then support us on Patreon for exclusive content as well as the video of us recording this. We'll have special exercises we'll be writing as well as tips and tricks with tenor drumming and other instruments to come. Subscribe to us on YouTube for some tenor tutorials and possibly other tutorials later on. And like us on Facebook at Podband Pipecast.